King David has fled Jerusalem because his third son, Absalom, has risen up, leading a civil war against him. His first son, Amnon, is dead, having been murdered by Absalom. We don't know what happened to the second, Chileab, born to Abigail the Carmelite. But the third son, Absalom, whose mother was a princess, has endeared himself to the nation, making promises to them that he would do better than his father. And now he has declared himself king. He's come into Jerusalem. Ahithophel, who was a very faithful advisor to David, has supported Absalom against David. And the first thing that Absalom does is take the 10 concubines that David left behind to care for the house and go into them very publicly on the roof of the house. Then Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Now let me choose 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue David tonight. I will come upon him while he is weary and weak, and make him afraid. And all the people who are with him will flee, and I will strike only the king. Then I will bring back all the people to you. When all return except the man whom you seek, all the people will be at peace." And the saying pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. Then Absalom said, "Now call Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear what he says too." And when Hushai came to Absalom, Absalom spoke to him, saying, "Ahithophel has spoken in this manner. Shall we do as he says? If not, speak up." So Hushai said to Absalom, "The advice that Ahithophel has given is not good at this time. For," said Hushai, "you know your father and his men, that they are mighty men, and they are enraged in their minds, like a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. And your father is a man of war, and will not camp with the people. Surely by now he is hidden in some pit, or in some other place. And it will be, when some of them are overthrown at the first, that whoever hears it will say, 'There is a slaughter among the people who follow Absalom.' And even he who is valiant, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will melt completely. For all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and those who are with him are valiant men. Therefore I advise that all Israel be fully gathered to you, from Dan to Beersheba, like the sand that is by the sea for multitude, and that you go to battle in person. So we will come upon him in some place where he may be found, and we will fall on him as the dew falls on the ground. And of him and all the men who are with him there shall not be left so much as one. Moreover, if he has withdrawn into a city, then all Israel shall bring ropes to that city, and will pull it down into the river, until there is not one small stone found there." So Absalom and all the men of Israel said, "The advice of Hushai the Archite is better than the advice of Ahithophel." For the Lord had purposed to defeat the good advice of Ahithophel, to the intent that the Lord might bring disaster on Absalom. Then Hushai said to Zadok and Abiathar the priests, "Thus and so Ahithophel advised Absalom and the elders of Israel, and thus and so I have advised. Now therefore send quickly and tell David, saying, 'Do not spend the night in the plains of the wilderness, but speedily cross over, lest the king and all the people who are with him be swallowed up.'" Now Jonathan and Ahimaaz stayed at En-Rogel, for they dared not be seen coming into the city. So a female servant would come and tell them, and they would go and tell King David. Nevertheless, a lad saw them, and told Absalom. But both of them went away quickly, and came to a man's house in Bahurim, who had a well in his court, and they went down into it. Then the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth, and spread ground grain on it, and the thing was not known. And when Absalom's servants came to the woman at the house, they said, Where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan? So the woman said to them, They have gone over the water brook. And when they had searched and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. Now it came to pass, after they had departed, that they came up out of the well, and went and told King David, and said to David, Arise and cross over the water quickly, for thus has Ahithophel advised against you. So David and all the people who are with him arose and crossed over the Jordan. By morning light not one of them was left who had not gone over the Jordan. Now when Ahithophel saw that his advice was not followed, he saddled a donkey and rose and went home to his house, to his city. Then he put his household in order and hanged himself and died, and he was buried in his father's tomb. Then David went to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed over the Jordan, he and all the men of Israel with him. And Absalom made Amasa captain of the army instead of Joab. This Amasa was the son of a man whose name was Jithra, an Israelite, who had gone in to Abigail the daughter of Nahash, sister of Zeruiah, Joab's mother. So Israel and Absalom encamped in the land of Gilead. Now it happened when David had come to Mahanaim, that Shobi, the son of Nahash from Rabbah, of the people of Ammon, Machir the son of Amiel from Lodebar, and Barzillai the Gileonite from Rogelim, brought beds and basins, earthen vessels and wheat, barley and flour, parched grain and beans, lentils and parched seeds, honey and curds, sheep and cheese of the herd, for David and the people who are with him to eat. For they said, The people are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we've read together from 2 Samuel chapter 17. First of all, we need to note Ahithophel, and the parallel there is between Ahithophel and Judas Iscariot. Ahithophel had been a very close companion and supporter of David, but in the end he turns against him to support Absalom, the very proud son. And he has a plan which would see David killed, just David, and his plan would have worked had it been carried out. But God intended to thwart that plan so that Absalom would die instead of David. The key to the matter was who survives the day, David or Absalom. When Ahithophel finds his advice to go immediately and strike David before he's got organised has not been followed, he goes to his home, puts his things in order and commits suicide, even as Judas Iscariot did. And why was Ahithophel not followed? Because of the old adviser Hushai, who was supporting David and gave advice that would appeal to Absalom but would advantage David. And the appeal was that Absalom himself would be the big man leading the battle. But of course that puts him at risk of dying. And that it would be a large affair because David was sneaky, David was experienced, David was wise. And so it appealed to Absalom to take on his father himself. But he didn't have the expertise that Joab and the mighty men who were with David had. He appoints Amasa, a nephew of Joab's, over his army. Again we see somebody lying to defend the life of David. When she hid the two young priests in the well, the commandment is not to bear false witness against your neighbour. And so she is justified in protecting innocent life. And so David is advised, get across the Jordan. Although they are tired and weary, they get across the Jordan that night. And those across the Jordan at Mahanaim, a famous place where Jacob met the Lord, men from the area come with supplies to encourage and feed those with David.